In Learning Objective 1.3c, I'm going to show you how to identify outliers using what's called the 1.5 IQR rule. What you do to figure out if in a data set, if you have outliers, you have to test it on the low end and on the high end. So what the low end test is you're going to go in and take the Q1 and you're going to subtract from it 1.5 times the IQR. Any data points less than that amount, but not including it, are considered outliers. On the high end, you take Q3 and you add to it 1.5 times the IQR. Any data points greater than that, but not including it, are considered outliers in the data set. Now, just because you find outliers doesn't mean you should remove them. It's just to be cautious of it and know that there are outliers that could change the shape of your distribution. So if we just look back at those New York travel time pieces of data, we had 20 pieces of data. And if we compute, we get that the quartile 3 is 42.5, quartile 1 is 15. Therefore, the IQR is 27.5. So what you would do is you take 1.5 times your IQR, you get 41.25. You're then going to test it on the low end, so Q1 minus that multiplier would give you a negative 26.25. And then a Q3 for the high end, you're going to add it to that, and you're going to get 83.75. Now you go and you look at your data and you see, are there any pieces of data less than negative 26? Well, no, we don't have anything negative, so that really doesn't make sense. So obviously there's nothing on the low end. But on the high end, is there anything greater than 83.75? Absolutely, it's this one travel time of 85 minutes. Therefore, that piece of data would be considered to be an outlier. So let's do an example in our note packet. So here we switch gears. We're not looking at McDonald's beef sandwiches, but now chicken sandwiches. In this list here, we have, it looks like 14 pieces of data. So what I can do is I want to figure out if there's any outliers. So I'm going to go to my calculator and do stat edit, and I'm going to enter the chicken sandwich data in my list too. I'm then going to do stat calculate and do a one variable statistic. On list 2, I'm going to change it this time and get this output. Now, just as a recall, x bar is our mean right there. This next one, by the way, is sigma sub x. It says it added all the x's up and it tallied 219. N is the number of pieces of data, so there's 14 pieces of data in here. Now, I see quartile 1. I'd have to scroll down to get to quartile 2. So if we go ahead and compute this on the lower end first, what I did right here is I took the IQR, so 17 minus 10, and then times it by 1.5. And I'm going to take 10 minus that number. Be very careful. Remember, subtraction is not commutative. The order is very important. It's Q1 minus this multiplier. So anything with less than a negative 0.5 grams of fat is an outlier on the low end. Clearly, nothing meets that requirement. On the high end, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take Q3 this time, and I'm going to add to it 1.5 times the IQR, and that would be anything above 27.5 grams. Again, if you're at 27.5, you're fine, but anything above that would meet the requirement of being an outlier. And in this case, we would consider, it looks like, the premium crispy chicken sandwich to be an outlier of all the chicken sandwiches that McDonald's serves. And that is the outlier test.